Hey guys, it's your girl Nick. I want to welcome you to our first edition of the Bo Collective's podcast. We are calling ourselves the Bo Knows Business. I'm going to share with you some amazing women. We are the Bo Collective, Black owner and women's collective. We are made up of 50 businesses who all gross together over 1 million dollars in their revenues. They are in the top 0.5% of all successful businesses. And we want to know how they did it. We want to know why they did it. And we want to have them share with you how you do it. All right. So today we have the amazing Theresa Harrison, and we have the amazing and fabulous Gina Reese. They are both going to share their entrepreneurial journeys, strategies, successes, and challenges, and let you all know how to come along with the ride with them. All right. So, first to the stage, we are going to bring Miss Theresa Harrison. Hey,
Hi, Nick.
girlfriend.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, girl. We're gonna do look, I keep it real.
I
Y'all, we tried to
know.
do this. We had a wonderful daggone show. Everything went great, and your girl forgot to press record. All right.
That's
So
okay.
I'm like humiliated. But you know what? You gave such great nuggets before, Teresa. I just cannot wait for our audience to meet you, to hear your story, to tell how you came from George Street in Baltimore, Maryland, into growing not one, but two multi-million dollar businesses. All right. So, can you first just tell us a little bit about yourself or your background and tell us about your current business?
Okay, sure. It is great to be here, Nick. Thanks for this opportunity. I am Teresa Harrison. I am the founder and president of George Street Services. George Street is named after the street I grew up on in Baltimore. If you grow up in Baltimore and you successfully navigate the communities, the world, you can be a business owner.
I love it.
George Street is a technology company.
Mhm.
We provide services primarily to the federal government, and those services fall within four core areas. We do software engineering, IT and managed services, agile project management, and cybersecurity services and solutions. We are headquartered here in Maryland and primarily work here in the DMV, but we do have other customers across the country.
I love that. So, you know what I didn't ask you before? So, this is good. I like a take two because I'm like, I forgot to ask her. So, what was it like? I mean, you named your company George Street. Tell me what it was like as a little girl. Tell me
You
about
know,
the people. Give me some stories about George Street.
you know, I named the company George Street because my family and my community were so impactful in my life. I am the middle child of 11 children.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
and I am the first girl.
Okay.
So I had to be a CEO even just growing up in my
Just growing
family.
up,
Yes,
just
just
a
growing
shot
up.
caller, telling those
Yes,
boys what to do, right?
absolutely. I was the trailblazer, the first
Mhm.
girl. And so we grew up in a family in which, in my opinion, my mother was the master logistician.
Mm.
She was someone that led finance, that led the education, the
Yes.
love, help us go after what we wanted. So I learned from her initially. George Street, which was a low income neighborhood in Baltimore, made up of people who cared, people who supported and encouraged me. And they were so impactful. At,
Yes.
at George Street, although I had seven brothers, I had another 30 brothers.
Oh, wow.
Although I had three biological sisters, I have another 30 sisters. These people are still a part of my life today.
I love it. You know what? I always, Michelle Obama did her book
Mhm.
Becoming. I think that this is what the Bo podcast is going to be, is that we want to show how your story, how these things, these people,
Yes.
these experiences helped you become who you are today. I still want to stay on George Street for just a
Mhm.
second. Give me one thing outside of your biological family. Is there one person that said something to you? Maybe it was, a corner grocer, or in your choir, or somebody said something positive to you that still resonates with you today in terms of, your confidence to go on and be an entrepreneur.
It was my Sunday school's teacher, Deacon
I
Aaron
knew it. I
Stansberry,
knew it.
who said to me, he was teaching about miracles of God, and he said that we can do and be whatever we want to be.
I love
And
it.
he used biblical stories to show miracles that did happen. And I remember to this day, as a 7-year-old little girl, believing that. And throughout my life, he was there always encouraging, um, and introduced me to so much to the point where I was immersed in French. I did horseback riding, thought I wanted to be an equestrian until I realized you had to clean up poop. That just
Like,
wasn't for me.
check, please.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I remember also wanting to be a basketball player.
Mhm.
I am not of that makeup. I didn't want you to bump me or scratch me, but I did get to play in one game in my life, and then I pivot. That was key to me because I
Okay.
learned also that you can pivot.
You can
So
pivot.
there were people who introduced me to a lot, whether they were in my community, in my church. My high school teacher, Miss Stevenson, the best math teacher ever at the greatest high school, Western High School in Baltimore.
That's right.
Uh,
Y'all are proud. You got all those rivalries. I've been there. I know.
Absolutely. So in all parts of my life,
Yeah.
I realized that these people were so impactful that I carried them with me through George Street. And the tagline for George Street is where your story begins,
I love it. Oh,
because
how I
that's where
didn't
you're
know
going
that. I
from
didn't know that.
there.
See,
Yes.
that was why we had this retake, honey. We didn't have that. I think that nugget of support, and I saw those people so clearly the way you described them. So thank you for sharing. And now
Welcome.
I definitely see the first act of Theresa. What did that second act look like in terms of, you've tried all these things. I'm assuming, when you went to school, you started to have an affinity for the sciences. Tell me about your
Oh,
second
okay.
stage.
My second act was going to college, and I was a very shy person. And college allowed me to blossom and explore. Um, I knew after my freshman year in college that I wanted to be a software engineer. But Nick,
Okay.
what's interesting is I didn't want to major in computer science.
Okay. Okay.
So I
Why
believe
not? Why not?
in
Tell me.
being creative. I didn't want to major in it because I was so interested in business.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'm going to open my company at some
Right. Because
point
you
in the
already
future.
knew.
Yes.
Yes.
So I majored in business administration and
Oh,
minored in computer science.
very
But when
good.
I graduated, I only applied to computer science positions.
Hmm.
Of course, I got 100 rejections until I got the one. And
And
I
all you need
knew
is
if I
that
got
one.
that interview, I got the job, and I got the job. But what's interesting, and this ties to business, is when I started, it was with Magnavox Aerospace
Hmm.
with a group of computer science graduates from across the country. I went to the first meeting and I had no idea what they were talking about. I
Hmm.
was not equipped for that job.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what I did, because failure is not an option,
Failure is not an option.
what I did was I moved 2 blocks from the company. I worked 8 to 5. I went home. I came back at 7 when no one else was
Yes,
there.
sir.
And I worked 7 to 11, Monday through Thursday, until I got up to speed. And that taught me, Theresa, you can do this.
You
That's
can
what the
do it.
Sunday school teacher
I
said.
know that's right. But your lens is dope. I mean, it's just dope. You knew, hey, I'm going to own a business. It's two, I am going to own it in this practice area.
Yes.
And then, the way that it was like a nice orchestration that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me get it. Let me learn it. Hello. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you were like, no pivoting there. Let me practice. Let me learn
Absolutely.
my craft. Let me
Yes.
get up to speed. I mean, I think that is huge
Mm-hmm.
and a nugget that all of
Yes.
our viewers who want to just jump out and be an entrepreneur, like you got to perfect your craft. You have
Yes.
to know the underlying skill sets
Mm-hmm.
required to
Mm-hmm.
run the business. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're chapter 2. We see where this story is going. What's that third
The
chapter where
third
you get into
chapter
entrepreneurship?
was that I had a successful career as a software engineer, a storage engineer, and other disciplines, and worked with, I'm sorry, wonderful companies.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to the point in which there was no place for me to go unless I left.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, along with
That's a quotable quote, girl. There was nowhere else for me to go unless I left. I
yes,
mean, that is a word.
yes. So I left and I started a Phoenix LLC with two partners.
Mm-hmm.
And we left on a Friday, started on Monday, and we got our first contract within 2 weeks. And that was based on us leveraging our technical
I
capabilities.
got it. I got it. So
We
this
just didn't jump out there.
You didn't jump out. So now, okay, now we're in the business nuggets. Now we know how you became. We know that you went with partners
Yes.
versus solo. We know that you had a bed of technical experience that you felt very grounded in. The contract, that is usually, the hardest part. You got a lot of people, especially we're here in the DMV area, that are great contract specialists inside of departments, but they don't want to make that leap because they don't know how to market. Tell us how you landed, real specifics, that first contract, Theresa.
I got the first contract via the customer I've been working with for over 5 years.
Yes.
So I leveraged the relationship I had developed and I leveraged the skill sets I had obtained over time. And that customer gave us a contract 2 weeks after we opened the company.
I have trained, counseled, and coached over 200 businesses. And that is if I had to put together ingredients for a successful launch, it is that model,
Mm-hmm.
which is you have had a number of years of experience doing a thing, particularly in the federal or state
Mm-hmm.
government space, and then you find a customer that you're already working with. Show them, hey, I can give you what you're already getting, probably at a reduce. You give them some kind of price break.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the overhead, et cetera,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
maybe, and you go with that. I
Yep,
think that's the safest model, right?
it is.
Because you're already doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
They're already happy, and you're providing them a new solution that may have some cost benefits. So there's no risk. There's very limited risk for them, right?
Absolutely. The risk was not with the customer, the risk was internal.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
with the contract, we hired the engineers and we had to pay them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How were we going to pay them?
Yes.
Initially, with the company, we financed the company.
Yes.
But as you grow the company, that number gets higher and larger and larger. And we got to a point where making that payroll was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we tried everything. We had no answer. And I've learned that we have to be creative and we have to ask.
Yes.
So I went to the director of finance at this agency
Mm-hmm.
and I introduced myself. I explained we're a small business, what we were doing for the agency, who we were doing it with. And I said, we will have problems making payroll which will impact us meeting your requirements. Will you help us by expediting our invoice? And he said yes. If you don't
If
ask,
you don't ask, you don't get it.
absolutely.
No, I love it. And that, I mean, that's a part of the entrepreneurship journey, that access to capital. I do want to pivot a bit to ask you about, we are focused on bringing awareness to Black women entrepreneurs. Do you believe that being a Black female has presented certain challenges? And if so, what are the tools that you've used to overcome those challenges, be it access to capital, as you said, be it, maybe market research, et cetera?
I definitely believe, no, I definitely know that being a female and an African American female has created additional challenges. There's challenges to being a business owner, but the additional challenges are one, we are not invited to the inner circles
Mm-hmm.
where there are groups, there are organizations that we're all members of, but there's also normally another circle within that we are not. Another challenge is it does get lonely
Mm-hmm.
because many times you're in settings, you want a partner, you want to network, and you see it happening around you,
Yes.
but not necessarily with you.
Yes.
Another challenge is getting access to capital. As you know, African American women are starting more businesses than any other population of people. Yet, we have the highest percentage of declines
Yes.
for capital. And why is that? How can someone of a similar ilk get the go ahead and we don't?
Yes.
And it is a lot more legwork that is needed and done to get to the yes.
I agree. I agree. And I think what we want to show the audience, with the Bow Collective, that you all are the 0.5% of most successful by reaching that 1 million gross annual sales barometer. However, it is not without a new set of challenges. It's not like you
So
just
true.
arrive and hey, the floodgates open up. It's just a different set of challenges.
It
Am I
is. And
right?
Nick, one other thing I want to mention is we are not sponsored.
Mhm.
There are a ton of people wanting to mentor us. We've been mentored a lot.
Tell them
We have
tell our
grown
audience the difference
companies.
who don't know. What's the difference between a mentor and a sponsor?
I'm going to start with sponsor because that's what I want.
Yes.
A sponsor is someone who brings you to the table, someone who ensures your success, someone who is willing to walk alongside you and help you get access.
Yes. Yes. Full stop.
Right.
Full
We
stop. You don't even need to know what a mentor is.
no,
We
and
we ask, and we've been mentored enough. We need the sponsors. We
we
need
need
people that put
sponsors.
their credibility, their reputation on the line for your advantage, for your
Exactly. And speaking for my both sisters, we are not companies that just started.
yes.
We have been in business. We're successful. We have infrastructure. We have skills and capabilities. We have done the legwork. We have done years of business and trying to get you to acknowledge and sponsor us like you do with other companies.
Yes. No, that's perfect. And that is our rally cry. And that's why we're telling your stories
Yes,
so that people cannot say they don't know where we are or who we are.
right.
And I love you so much for saying that. I want to leave you with two things. We got 1 minute left.
Okay.
What is beyond business for Theresa? What is higher than business? And then where can our audience find you?
Higher than business is being of service to my communities. Business is very important, and the success of George Street Services is very important, but equally important is being of service to my community, giving back in various ways that's needed, that's requested, and that's volunteered. How you reach me, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I am Theresa Harrison. Two websites, thgives.com, or George Street Services Inc. No, GeorgeStreetInc.com.
George Street Inc.
Yeah, George Street Inc. TH Gibbs, George Street Inc. And I'm Theresa Harrison via LinkedIn.